Welcome to the deep dive. We take a complex stack of source material, strip away the noise, and really deliver the strategic insights you need. Today, we are immersing ourselves in, well, it's quite a story, a comprehensive 100-minute narrative detailing one of the most intense corporate turnarounds, maybe in recent history, the resurgence, the comeback, and ultimately the victory of the on-passive ecosystem, all guided by Ash Mufareh. Now, our goal isn't just to, summarize this. We want to dissect the strategic blueprint. We're going to analyze specifically how a global tech company facing, real existential threats, we're talking intense governmental friction, aggressive, established competitors, how they managed a total self-reinvention. And this was driven by AI, new security standards, and a deep commitment to their global community.
Yeah, this source material, it paints a picture of really high-stakes drama. It frames the whole journey not just as some routine business pivot, but as a deliberate act of resilience against forces that seemed, frankly, designed to stop them. So we really need to understand the strategic thinking, the why behind the choices that they made under, extreme pressure. It really challenges the idea that only those traditional, maybe politically connected corporations can survive at this level.
Absolutely. It's a narrative of conflict, sure, but also execution. And if we look for the core philosophy guiding it all, it seems to be captured in Ash Mufareh's own words. Victory is not built in comfort, it's built in persistence and resilience. So let's unpack this. Let's start with that period when they seemingly vanished from public view. Okay, so the opening chapters of this narrative, they describe a phase the source calls the silent storm, this challenging genesis period. It was marked by just immense external pressure. For any company, let alone one maybe still establishing itself globally, to face government interference and aggressive, wealthy tech rivals at the same time. That sounds like a recipe for collapse. What exactly was this hostile environment like?
Well, the source is pretty clear that the pressure was systemic. It seemed designed to destabilize them. The government interference mentioned, it likely showed up as, regulatory friction, maybe intense scrutiny, bureaucratic hurdles just designed to slow them down, especially in key markets. And meanwhile, the competition from the big global giants, it wasn't just like slick marketing campaigns. It often involved sophisticated legal attacks, lobbying efforts, trying to box ONPASSIVE's unified model into old restrictive frameworks.
Right. So facing this barrage, the company chose to work silently, behind the scenes. They effectively withdrew from the public battlefield. Now, that seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? When public perception is, well, everything. Was this silence a retreat or was it tactical?
Oh, it was profoundly tactical. The withdrawal was a strategic call to redirect all their energy internally. It sort of acknowledged that trying to win the PR battle while simultaneously building fundamentally new tech, it was just impossible under those conditions. The source really highlights this period as crucial for strengthening the foundations, perfecting what they called revolutionary ideas and technologies. The public quiet, that was just the cover needed for some really intense, high-stakes development work.
Okay, so if the goal was perfection, this intense internal energy during the silent storm, where was it directed? We need the specifics, the groundwork they were laying.
Yeah, the focus seems to have been threefold, and it clearly reflects the lessons they learned from that initial external pressure. First, core development centered on building highly sophisticated AI-driven systems. They weren't just tacking on AI features. They were designing the core architecture to be intelligent from the start. Second, a heavy focus on robust security protocols. And this wasn't just standard encryption. It was about creating systems like OVirtual, a secure, maybe even decentralized environment designed to withstand serious cyber threats, state-level stuff, maybe even corporate espionage.
And the third area, this seems to tie directly into that movement idea you mentioned.
Exactly. The third area was actively rebuilding and strengthening trust with their global network, their founders, their affiliates. All that external noise and criticism, it had definitely created some internal doubt. So the silent period let the leadership really focus on clear internal communication, showing commitment to the original vision, making sure the community stayed loyal, stayed ready for the comeback.
Right. That intensive prep work leads us straight into the strategic planning phase. Ash Mufareh's goal, as stated, was creating a movement. So if we look at the new architectural blueprint, what did this movement actually need architecturally to lead this next wave of digital transformation?
It needed total unification and resilience, what they called being innovative, inclusive, and invincible. The blueprint itself rested on 5 core pillars, and it deliberately rejected that common industry practice of having, separate siloed tools that don't talk to each other.
Okay, let's define these pillars, starting with unification. What did that mean in practice?
Pillar 1, unifying platforms. The crucial detail here is the seamless integration of all their products under one ecosystem, accessible via a single dashboard. This wasn't just linking separate tools, it was building them as native parts of one single operating environment. And that immediately solves a huge business problem, right? Subscription fatigue, data scattered everywhere. This aimed to fix that from the ground up.
Pillar 2, security. Sounds like a direct response to the storm they'd just been through. How did they define advanced security systems beyond, say, a standard firewall?
Yeah, this is where their proprietary tools like O-Verify and O-Virtual really became central. O-Verify seems to have implemented advanced, maybe multi-layered identity verification, establishing a high level of digital trust across the whole network, making it fundamentally resistant to things like bot fraud, account takeovers. O-Virtual, on the other hand, provided a secure digital workspace, maybe using virtualization or encrypted network tunneling, making the ecosystem inherently tough for outsiders to penetrate or even map out. It's security by architecture, not just adding layers on top.
Okay. And Pillar 3 tackled the global nature of this movement, financial freedom.
That's global payment freedom. They apparently completely re-engineered O-Wallet. Now, to achieve the borderless instant transactions they claim, O-Wallet must have used or developed some pretty sophisticated fintech solutions. We're likely talking rapid multi-currency conversion, robust anti-money laundering compliance built right into the transaction layer, ensuring speed and security across all the different regulatory zones they were in. This sounds like it goes way beyond your standard digital wallet.
Right. And Pillars 4 and 5, they defined the character of the system itself, the AI and the community aspects.
Pillar 4, AI automation everywhere. This meant embedding machine learning, predictive analytics, right into the operational core of every tool, so the system can learn from user behavior, from market patterns, offering personalized suggestions, automating tasks. It's the difference between just software and an intelligent digital assistant, really. And finally, Pillar 5, community empowerment. This mandated that the architecture itself had to ensure shared success. The ecosystem was designed so that the platform's growth inherently drove success and victory for the individual founder, reinforcing that whole movement idea.
Wow. So this detailed, pretty comprehensive blueprint, that was the strategic outcome of the silent storm, really setting the stage for what sounds like a dramatic technological reemergence. Okay, so now we move to the turning point, the launch of the new Ecosystem 2.0. The source really emphasizes this wasn't just an upgrade. It calls it a total reinvention. What are the strategic implications there? The difference between an upgrade and a reinvention of how business, communication, tech interact.
Well, an upgrade is iterative, right? You improve what's there. A reinvention, that's foundational. It implies a complete shift in their underlying tech stack. Maybe moving from older cloud structures to something like hyperscalable microservices architecture, designed for massive concurrent global use, all unified under a single data layer informed by AI. The strategic implication is huge. They basically aim to make all their previous challenges and maybe even their competitors' current strategies obsolete in one big leap.
And the immediate result, it was framed as both a technological and a psychological victory. How did the launch pull off that psychological win? Because that sounds tricky.
The tech delivery was the undeniable proof. For years, critics had, relentlessly questioned if the vision was even viable, if they could actually deliver. By launching a fully integrated suite of working tools, the company effectively answered all those doubts with pure execution. That silenced the critics pretty much instantly and let the company just leapfrog that perception gap. They went from being this controversial entity to being framed as a global tech leader on the rise simply by showing superior working technology. It was a powerful move.
Let's get into the specifics then, the features that define Ecosystem 2.0. Starting with communications, obviously fundamental for a dispersed global network. We hear about OConnect 2.0. What made it different?
Right, OConnect 2.0. It needed to stand out in a market already saturated, dominated by huge players. Based on the source's claims of advanced capabilities, this platform likely focused heavily on things like ultra-low latency global routing, high-capacity scalability for massive online events, and robust, probably dynamic encryption, integrated directly with those O-Verify protocols for secure meetings. The 2.0 suggests it could handle the intense demands of that global founder network far better than whatever came before it.
Okay. And internal team interaction, supported by OPure and OChat. You mentioned AI being embedded everywhere. What specific function would AI perform in these collaboration tools to make them, more efficient than standard platforms?
Well, AI moves these beyond just simple messaging apps. In OPure and OChat, AI is likely used for things like intelligent knowledge retrieval, instantly finding relevant documents, or even suggesting the right expert based on the conversation's context. Maybe even more critically, it likely uses behavioral AI to optimize workflow. For instance, suggesting automated task assignments based on team members' availability or their historical performance data, basically making the internal environment proactively productive, not just reactive.
Interesting. Now, shifting to the tools empowering the entrepreneurs themselves, the Intelligent Marketing Suite, ODIT and OTracker, this is where that AI automation principle really has to deliver, right?
Absolutely. These tools essentially aim to democratize the kind of sophisticated analytics usually only available to large enterprises with dedicated data science teams. OTracker provides real-time, comprehensive performance analysis, likely integrating AI-driven predictive modeling to forecast campaign success, maybe suggest budget shifts. ODIT could focus more on, say, data governance and deep analysis, spotting anomalies or identifying ideal customer segments with the speed human analysis just can't match, directly enabling founders to make truly intelligent marketing decisions, not just guesses.
And rounding out the commerce side, we have the enhanced interaction provided by OShop. How is this designed to integrate seamlessly with everything else in the ecosystem?
OShop is like the connective tissue for the financial side. Its main advantage is its native integration with OWallet and OVerify. That means consumers and businesses benefit from those borderless payment capabilities and the high level of trust established by OVerify's identity protocols. For the user, it means potentially faster checkouts, maybe fewer payment processor fees, and inherent security against transaction fraud. That makes it a pretty compelling alternative to traditional e-commerce platforms, especially if you're already in the ecosystem.
So when we look at this whole suite, OConnect, OPeer, OTracker, OShop, all merged into one unified dashboard, what's the central strategic insight there? What's the big takeaway from combining all these?
The insight is the deliberate rejection of the data silo model. The fact that all these tools talk to each other means the AI isn't just learning in isolated buckets, it's learning across your entire business activity, from internal communications to external customer transactions to marketing performance, all of it. This holistic view creates a massive competitive advantage. It fulfills that blueprint goal of making the whole system greater than the sum of its parts, and it should dramatically improve user experience and data integrity.
Okay, so this successful launch, it was the result of overcoming some pretty monumental resistance. Now, moving into the part of the narrative focused on resilience, the source frames it interestingly, not just as a leadership trait, but as the actual fuel for victory for the entire ONPASSIVE family. That suggests resilience was almost a necessary condition for the technical success.
That's a really crucial distinction, yeah. It suggests resilience was somehow engineered into the organization, not just something hoped for in the boardroom. The community aspect means every affiliate, every founder who stuck with them during that silent storm was proof of the organization's stability. It shows the initial attacks weren't just weathered, they actually hardened the entire system. It proved the validity of their structure under real-world intense pressure.
Let's look at how that investment in security paid off during this resurgence period. The source mentions withstanding cyber attacks. How did the specific defenses of OVirtual actually repel these assaults? What made it effective?
Those security investments were clearly critical. OVirtual's defenses likely involve things like dynamic, adaptive encryption, sophisticated DDoS mitigation, techniques that could recognize and neutralize massive attack waves without bringing the whole system down. And if OVirtual operates on, say, a secure enclave model or something decentralized, it means even if one part was targeted, the core data and system integrity could remain safe. The system could rapidly reroute traffic and just keep functioning, maintain operational continuity.
Beyond the tech, though, they faced the predictable legal maneuvers from powerful competitors, established players. How did they navigate those complex legal hurdles without getting bogged down in years of, expensive court battles?
According to the source, the strategy was basically innovation combined with absolute transparency. By continually innovating, pushing forward, and maintaining a transparent operational model, they could argue successfully that they weren't engaging in anti-competitive practices or infringing on specific IP. They were essentially arguing they were creating an entirely new category. This approach kind of undermines those legal challenges, which often rely on trying to classify a newcomer within old restrictive industry definitions.
But innovation requires clear heads, right? Which must be hard when you're under intense fire. How was that internal struggle, the inevitable doubt, maybe fear among the team, how was that overcome?
The internal anchor, it seems, was that core purpose, lifting humanity through technology. When the pressure really mounted, The leadership apparently kept refocusing the team on this mission statement. This commitment provided a kind of higher ethical humanitarian objective that could override the more immediate concerns about criticism or financial risk. Resilience in this sense was also about psychological commitment to purpose over just profit.
Okay, this leads us to the culmination, the official victory launch event. The source describes the atmosphere as electric. High drama, clearly. What was the central message from Ash Mufareh that framed this not just as a launch, but as a real declaration?
His declaration really positioned the event as epoch-making. He said, "This is not just a comeback, this is a revolution. We are here to stay, to grow, and to change the world forever." That signals a major shift, right? From a defensive posture to an aggressive long-term global intent. It moved the company from being reactive, constantly under pressure, to basically dictating the terms of engagement for the future digital economy.
And what were the critical integrations unveiled at that event, the things that really showed the full realization of that strategic blueprint we talked about?
They delivered on that core promise of unification. First, unveiling the seamless unified dashboard. That gave instant, single sign-on access to the whole suite of products. Huge for usability. Second, the O-Wallet updates were crucial, showing the capacity for instant withdrawals, handling a wide range of global currencies, proving that the borderless payment goal wasn't just talk, it was achieved. Third, recognizing the loyalty shown during the storm, they formalized the relationship with the community by introducing the founder-exclusive loyalty rewards program, acknowledging that shared journey.
And the intelligence factor, the final piece sort of powering the whole operation.
Right. They unveiled powerful AI analytics, specifically tailored for both huge enterprises and the individual user. And that's key to the inclusion principle. It means an individual founder, operating from anywhere, now has immediate actionable intelligence, predictive tools, trend analysis, performance metrics. Stuff that was previously only affordable for massive corporations. It directly leveled the playing field competitively.
All right, moving beyond the launch event itself, the narrative shifts to the tangible impact on people. It frames the deeper purpose as empowerment and access. For you, the listener, we need to understand that what did this big technological victory actually translate into for the everyday person worldwide?
Yeah, it essentially translated into a form of economic democratization. The source outlines 3 specific ways the ecosystem empowered, potentially millions globally, turning the platform into a viable alternative path to starting a business, to entrepreneurship.
First, the huge barrier to entry startup costs was apparently neutralized.
Precisely. By providing the entire operational toolkit, marketing, communication, payment, security, all integrated, the cost of launching a business without massive capital investment became negligible, or at least significantly lower. You don't need to subscribe to 5-10 different expensive services. It's all supposedly native. Second, the empowerment came from giving access to top-tier AI tools, that audit and O-tracker sophistication we discussed. Making that available to small operations allowed them to potentially run marketing campaigns with the kind of intelligence usually reserved for, Fortune 500 companies.
And the third way, this speaks directly to the core motivation maybe of the founders themselves, financial sustainability.
Achieving financial freedom by leveraging this integrated ecosystem. The security of O-Verify, combined with the speed and borderless nature of O-Wallet, meant transactions could be trustworthy and immediate. That speed and security are particularly vital in many emerging markets, where maybe unstable financial infrastructure often creates huge transaction risks and delays. This aimed to bypass that.
The narrative really emphasizes the global reach, Africa, Asia, Europe, the Americas. These tools must have been particularly effective at bridging existing financial gaps in these very diverse places.
The integration was the key. The success stories cited in the source often hinged on that seamless interaction between O-Shop for market access, O-Tracker for optimizing performance based on local conditions, and the multi-currency instant settlement feature of O-Wallet. This combination allowed individuals in regions perhaps previously marginalized by traditional banking systems to participate directly, instantly, and securely in the global digital economy. That's the claim.
Now, the inevitable confrontation. When a system gets this kind of traction, the world's biggest tech corporations, as the source calls them, they're going to react. Imitation, aggressive discrediting campaigns. How did they try to fight back against this unified model?
Well, their response sounds like it followed a classic 2-step process. First, they tried to imitate the unification model, but often by just awkwardly patching together their existing legacy systems, not truly integrated. Second, they engaged in aggressive PR and discrediting campaigns, trying to sow doubt about the stability, the legitimacy of the new ecosystem. probably recycling some of the same criticisms used during the Silent Storm.
Right. And Ashmufar's strategic response was captured in that quote. We don't compete, we create. While others copy, we innovate. Strategically, what does that stance actually achieve against massive, established players with deep pockets?
It's a strategy of setting a continuously moving target. By focusing entirely on the next evolutionary phase, say moving from 2.0 to 3.0, before competitors can even properly copy 2.0, they ensure the competition is always playing catch-up. This forces the giants into these costly reactive development cycles, diverting their resources, while ONPASSIVE maintains the narrative of being the real innovator, the one setting the pace.
And this reliance on community-driven growth through founder passion, how did that model allow them to avoid the usual pitfalls of traditional corporate politics, maybe aggressive acquisitions?
Well, traditional corporate politics often involve expensive lobbying, cutthroat mergers, acquisitions designed to just eliminate threats. Because OnPassive's growth was validated organically, driven by the collective success of its users, it created a kind of inherent defensive moat. The system didn't rely on huge ad budgets or political connections. Its loyalty was distributed across millions of founders globally. That makes it exceptionally difficult for a competitor to just acquire it, dismantle it, or politically hamstring the company. It's a different kind of structure.
Okay, let's widen the focus again, the global ripple effect. The source says it extends far beyond just finance and individual businesses. How did this technology start affecting broader sectors, proving its versatility?
The cross-sector impact was potentially profound because the core tech, secure communications, AI analytics, verifiable identity, it's universally applicable, right? Small businesses, for instance, apparently gained economic stability in local communities by using those AI-driven marketing tools to maybe outcompete local rivals who didn't have access.
And the social sectors. You mentioned nonprofits, education.
Yeah, nonprofits and NGOs could use the secure comms of OConnect and the transparent transaction tracking of OWallet for increased operational transparency and global reach, allowing them to track donations, measure efficacy more efficiently. Students and educators could benefit by accessing AI-driven educational resources, often at low or no cost, bridging digital learning divides, especially maybe in remote or underfunded areas. And furthermore, the apparent success of O-Verify and O-Virtual reportedly led some governments to start exploring partnerships to enhance public service security and efficiency. Now, that's a powerful endorsement, if true, of the platform's reliability at scale.
So, the ultimate victory described here. It's framed as humanity's victory over barriers, ensuring equal access to advanced technology, not just a corporate win for OnPassive. All right, the final chapters of this narrative, they shift focus to the leadership needed to drive this kind of comeback. Ash Mufareh is described not just as a visionary, but specifically as a servant leader. What specific leadership traits, what actions, beyond just the strategic planning, proved essential during that crisis period and led to this triumph?
Well, servant leadership, the core idea is that the focus is always on the welfare and success of the external communities of founders, in this case even before the internal corporate entity. The success seems to have been driven by a really non-negotiable adherence to four foundational principles. These acted as their moral and operational compass during the Silent Storm and beyond.
Okay, let's lay out those four foundational principles clearly.
First, integrity, a refusal to compromise on values, which apparently underpin their strategy to overcome those legal hurdles through transparency, not backroom deals. Second, innovation, that continual drive to push boundaries, which we saw in the decision to go for a total reinvention with Ecosystem 2.0, not just incremental updates.
Third, reinforcing that social mission, we talked about accessibility.
Exactly. That's inclusion. The unwavering focus on empowering everyone, regardless of their location or prior wealth. This principle ensured that the technological advancements were designed to trickle down to the individual user, not just stay locked up for the corporate elite. And finally, impact. Constantly measuring success not just by stock price or valuation, but by how profoundly the technology actually changes lives. Reinforcing that mantra, lifting humanity through technology.
The source narrative suggests cementing Ash Mufareh's legacy alongside other big 21st century tech figures. But if the key difference is this focus on collective success, how does that practically show up in the company's structure compared to, say, a typical VC-backed startup?
Well, in traditional structures, the primary loyalty, legally and financially, is to the shareholders. That often leads to product decisions, prioritizing, extracting value, maximizing profit above all else. Here, the structure described seems engineered to ensure loyalty flows primarily to the user base, the founders. Because the company's growth is supposedly tied directly to the community's success or participation, every architectural decision from making AI tools accessible to designing O-Wallet, for instance, borderless utility is inherently designed to maximize collective benefit, ensuring success flows back to the founders first. This unique focus is what apparently defines this particular legacy.
Okay, finally looking forward. The unstoppable future. The comeback is framed not as the end point, but as the beginning of a new era. What's the current operational state described, and what's the strategic future focus?
The current state described is a self-sustaining global network. The system has apparently achieved enough critical mass, enough technological sophistication, that it can continually evolve through this synergy of AI automation and human collaboration. This means development cycles could be faster, adaptation to external challenges might be baked right into the infrastructure. The strategic future focus, likely on further expanding the technological footprint, maybe integrating new frontiers like quantum security standards or further decentralizing key elements to ensure absolute resilience against any future attacks or pressures.
And what was Ashmufarah's powerful closing message in the narrative, setting the tone for this new era of sustained influence?
It was a final rallying cry, really, full of determination and purpose. We have risen, we have overcome, and together we will build a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around. This promise reinforces that commitment that the tech will always be aligned with those principles of inclusion and impact, guaranteeing the integrity of the movement as they see it. Tag outro.
So let's try to synthesize what we've learned from this pretty extensive dive into the strategic blueprints of this comeback. For you, the listener, I think the critical takeaways are, first, the importance of that tactical withdrawal, the silent development period, was absolutely essential for re-engineering the system away from all that external noise. And second, the strategic power of designing a tech solution where unification, borderless finance, sophisticated security like virtual, where these are native components right from the start, not just bolted on later.
Yeah, and the final synthesis really hinges on resilience being treated as a strategic asset. The success narrative wasn't just about launching a clever product suite, it was about building a defensive moat based on community loyalty and system security. And that proved, according to this source, more powerful than the lobbying and aggressive tactics of the big global corporate giants. They effectively shifted the competitive battlefield.
Which does raise an important question, doesn't it? Something for you to consider as you reflect on this deep dive. If this ecosystem's strength truly relies on its community-driven growth model and its rejection of traditional corporate politics, what specific, maybe unforeseen challenges will this unique structure face as the giants inevitably ramp up their efforts to imitate or compete with its specific blend of innovation and inclusion? What is the next form of resilience required to defend not just a successful company, but a movement in the face of continuous escalating external pressure?
The fundamental tension, yeah. The unique versus the traditional. That's likely going to define the future battles for them.
Think about that frontier as you digest this information. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the blueprint of what sounds like a truly revolutionary comeback. We'll catch you on the next one.